Now, you might have heard of the Diversity Council of Australia. And yes, I know, you probably don't want to hear from them. But I've got to tell you about their latest buzzword or buzz phrase. It's code switching. Want to know what it means? Well, your public broadcaster would be only too happy to demonstrate.
I have code switched by changing the way I look, changing the way I sound.
Earlier in my career, I felt like a chameleon. Packing your lunch. I had to go to Friday night drinks and talk sports.
If you want a diverse team, it's really important to actively listen, give opportunities for people to express what their identity is.
But in general, it's an attempt at fitting in.
Code switching. It's where someone adjusts how they act and look to try and fit in. Culturally marginalised women often feel they need to adapt to belong to the dominant culture.
This report looked at the experiences of women who you call culturally and racially marginalised, or CALM for short.
We found that CALM women often have to code switch or kind of act white. They told us that we have to act white and male to get into this particular roles.
All about acting white, apparently, acting white and acting male. Isn't that cultural appropriation? If you think this sounds like another example of identity politics and victim seeking imported from the United States, you'd be right.
We haven't, as a country, confronted racism and really got into the roots of why we code switch, why we feel like we have to straighten our hair in order to get a job, even if we don't want to. Code switching and respectability politics don't protect us all the time. We're still black.
Now, hang on a second here. Riddle me this one, hey? If everyone is now being pressured into acting white, and if doing otherwise limits your employment prospects, why are we seeing so much evidence to the contrary? You know, like the fact that in the 2021 census, the ABS counted over 812,000 people identifying as Indigenous in this country, a 25% rise over just 5 years. Doesn't that show that people are proud to claim their code rather than code switch? And what about people like author Bruce Pascoe and his highly questionable claims about his own background and Indigenous Australians generally, all given such unquestioning prominence by the ABC and academia and others? Isn't the flaunting of even dubious non-white credentials more likely to get you on the gravy train than off it? But at the ABC, of course, the Diversity Council mantra is gospel.
It's very common, according to the Diversity Council Australia's report. It surveyed 400 culturally and racially marginalised women across Australian workplaces. It also found that both sexism and racism is quite prevalent in Australian workplaces.
Yeah, there you go. No attempt to interrogate those findings or the logic behind them.
You can write all the reports that you want to write, and this is a good report, but unless there's a top-down change to corporate culture in Australia, nothing's going to change quickly in terms of allowing women to be themselves and achieve these leadership positions.
Bit of mansplaining there from Michael Rowland. If he truly thinks white blokes are the problem and they're overrepresented, including at the ABC, as highlighted in this tweet just a couple of years ago, well, then there's one obvious solution, isn't there? Yeah, take one for the team, Michael. Put your money where your virtue signalling is. Vacate your position of privilege, code switch to another role, and give your position to a woman of colour. You know it makes sense.